stage. I'm extra like that. So when we came up with the theme home, I had this big dramatic plan to do something really serious about, like I said earlier, how I found home inside myself and built the roots and blah, blah, blah. But then I just kept circling back to this one incident. And it was an incident that happened when I was a teenager, when I lived at home with my parents. Sorry, Mom, Mom's in the room. And I just thought, you know what, screw it. Screw the deep stuff, that's not for tonight. I'm gonna tell the most embarrassing moment of my adolescence, and it's the time I accidentally played a lesbian sex anthem in the car with my father. If I had to think of the most textbook, cringe-worthy, coming-of-age moments of my life, there would be 3, all of which involve me somehow accidentally subjecting my poor parents to some sort of lesbian sex scene or song. Today, we're gonna focus on by far the most harrowing one. The year is 2003, and I've just come back to my preppy home of Westport, Connecticut, after spending a summer at a liberal arts camp tucked away deep in the Berkshires. At camp, everyone was from Tribeca or Soho or Williamsburg and was very cool and open-minded and just hip to shit us suburban kids were not hip to, like underground venues in the East Village, shops where you could buy authentic punk clothing. Hot Topic was for mall rat posers from the suburbs. How to pierce your own nose without rendering it wildly infected. And most importantly, to yours truly, the crazy Wild West that was lesbian culture in the early aughts. There had been a posse of out and proud teen lesbians at camp. Some had shaved heads. Some had girlfriends back home. Some were in the throes of a massive summer sapphic love affair. It ruled. By the 3rd night at camp, I'd loudly proclaimed to everyone that I too liked girls. Are you sure you're like just not trying to be trendy and rebellious? A fabulous teenage gay boy asked me. He was straightening my hair with one of those oh-so-coveted sapphire hair straighteners that she would be all the rage the next summer. Around his neck was a giant gold nameplate, and his hair was bleached acid blonde. I had never met anyone like him in my life. He's now been deemed Instagram's foremost fashion historian by Vogue magazine. I'm sure, I said. I wasn't sure if I preferred my hair wavy or flat ironed to a crisp. I wasn't sure if I wanted to move to New York or LA after high school. I wasn't sure if I authentically enjoyed the Marlboro Lights I forced myself to suck down in the woods after school with my friends. But I was sure that I liked girls. I was more than sure. I was certain. A quiet girl who had overheard me confess my baby dyke tendencies tapped me on the shoulder the next night at dinner. I was holding a tray full of lettuce leaves because I was on a diet. Another thing the city kids had taught me. Dieting. Real dieting. Lettuce leaf dieting. The kind that makes you drop a quarter of your weight in 2 weeks. This is before body positivity and all the stuff that the Gen Z is blessed to have. Zara, do you like Ani DeFranco? The quiet girl asked me, pushing her mousy brown hair behind her ear, revealing these impressively stretched earlobes. They looked so painful, which made them so hot and cool. I love Ani. I've seen her in concert like 10 times, I squealed. My tray quivered in my hands. Eating like a baby fawn will make a girl shake like a college student who has just taken a handful of Adderall before finals. I think you'll love this artist, Melissa Ferrick. You should get her album Freedom, the quiet girl said as she winked at me and walked away. I had this intrinsic feeling she had been sent into my life by my guardian angel, and that I should immediately, when I got home, make my dad drive me to Sam Goody and buy me the CD the moment I got back to whitewashed Westport. Dad, please take me to Sam Goody, please. By the way, for Gen Zs, there, Sam Goody was a record store back when people bought CDs and records and all that. I know it sounds ancient. We were about to embark on a long ride to the Trumbull Mall, a good 45 minutes from Westport. Please, I wailed, because I'm 14, and that's what you do at 14. I am convinced I will die right then and there if I don't get this Melissa Ferrick album right now. Okay, my dad says. This is still when I'm somewhat sweet and thus still have my parents wrapped around my fingers. This would change around 16 when I turned into a total sneaking out of the house, failing all my classes, pot-smoking combative nightmare. Exactly 15 minutes later, Melissa Ferrick is booming through the speakers of my dad's car. We are both loving her prolific acoustic lesbian folk songs. Wow, she's fantastic, Zara. Reminds me of Ani DeFranco. My dad, for the record, has always been very supportive of my unabashed love for forlorn women channeling their sorrow through the acoustic guitar. And then suddenly, the vibe kind of shifts. A drum beat starts playing, followed by a few seductive strums of a guitar. Before the lyrics even begin, I can just feel my cheeks going red. I haven't had sex with a woman yet. I mean, that time my friends and I went down on each other in the 7th grade while drunk in New Year's does not count. But I can tell this song is going to be sexual, sapphiccally sexual. Which, as a 14-year-old with a hot pink glitter retainer riding in the car next to her dad, just might be the most mortifying thing that's ever happened to anyone, ever. My dad doesn't seem to notice anything at all. He strums the wheel with his right hand as he soars down the I-95 with the windows down, his mop of Jewish curls swaying in the northeast wind. I squirm in my seat and I brace myself for lyrics that are probably about kissing a girl or something else that's equally as controversial. Right as I bite into my nail, the breathiest, deepest, most confidently sexual voice I've ever heard erupt out of a woman began not singing, but speaking. Speaking.
If you want this, you're gonna have to ask. Nicely, please. If you want this, you're gonna have to ask me, Zara.
I forget that my dad is in the car. What the hell does this Melissa Farah character want me to ask her to do? And why do I so badly want to answer? And give her the right answer and do it nicely, purr.
Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you slowly until you're begging. Whatever you want, but you have to ask me.
I descend out of the car and am residing on the Isle of Sapphos. I have no father. I'm not enrolled in a boring, dismal, straight high school made up of lacrosse-playing sheep in the wealthy Connecticut suburbs. I'm not on my way to the Trumbull Mall to buy clothes from Hot Topic that I'll lie about and tell everyone I bought on St. Mark's Place in Manhattan. I'm not wearing a hot pink glitter retainer, no. I'm a heavily tattooed femme with dark red lipstick rolling around the sand with a shaved head, Butch Dyke, and lesbian mecca.
Your waters stretched out on my bed. Your fingers are trembling. Your heart is heavy and red. Your head is bent back. Your back is arched. My hand is under there, holding you up.
Her hand is under there? There, as in the ultra low-rise Frankie B jeans I'm wearing? And I was worried the song was about kissing?
In the kitchen, in the shower.
Suddenly, I am pulled back into my body. The dark, terrifying reality that a lesbian sex song is vibrating through the speakers with my fucking dad driving the car dawns on me. I awkwardly clear my throat. But it is really too dry to make a sound. I'm too scared to look at my dad. This is really just too bizarre to face. Finally, I sneak a peek at him at the corner of my eye, certain he is angry with me, certain that he thinks his precious 14-year-old girl is a demented, perverted dyke that needs to be sent to therapy instantly. That, or he is planning on telling everyone in the family about it, about how I insisted on buying a lesbian album, which must mean that I am a dyke, which means my wicked, sarcastic siblings will tease me and call me dyke for the rest of eternity. I will never be able to attend a family gathering again. I dream of lonely Christmases locked in my bedroom. For some reason, though, my dad's face is like totally neutral. Not numb neutral, chill neutral. There's a difference. And just when I think it can't possibly get any goddamn worse, the lyrics take on an even more hypersexual turn.
And in the backseat of my car, I'll hold you up. In your office, preferably during business hours, because I know how you like it when there's people around.
I am 14, but I have watched enough goddamn Cinemax After Dark to know all about workplace sex fantasies. Suddenly, I'm seething with an irrevocable anger at Melissa Farah. I am angry that she didn't warn me that this album I innocently purchased of hers, the one adorned with a pretty picture of her looking like a very tame 90s lesbian, sporting a white tee, it's not even low cut, and one of those Bob Pixie hybrid cuts that were all the rage in the 90s, didn't come with a warning to queer teens everywhere, cautioning us not to listen to this album when parents are present. Didn't she know that most of us don't have a driver's license yet? That we depend on long, boring drives to shopping malls with our parents to get our musical fixes? I can feel steam coming out of my ears.
Your head is bent back. Your back is arched. My hand is under there.
I am frozen in fear and humiliation. I am praying to the Indigo Girls that maybe my dad thinks that I don't get it, that I'm still a kid, and all of this "your back is arched" nonsense has gone right over my childish virginal head. Like maybe I think she's talking about gymnastics when she mentioned the arched back. After all, I've just quit doing gymnastics a year ago, and I was once famous at my local YMCA for breaking out into a flawless backbend. I conclude that if I do skip the song, I'm sending a clear message out to my dad. I am a grown-up, and I know that this song is about sex, lesbian sex. If I play it out and pretend like I so don't understand it, that like now I'm bored and daydreaming about something like back to school shopping, we can both remain in the safe, cozy delusion that I'm 14 and asexual. No dynamic loves denial more than the father-daughter dynamic. Had it been my mother's car, she would have launched into a lecture about safe sex, darling, and droned on and on about how sex is normal and nothing to be ashamed of, and would ask me 100 times if I was a lesbian or bisexual and overly assure me, that it was okay if I was, and that she loved me unconditionally. And do I understand AIDS and consent and date rape drugs? And have I been the one purchasing porn on pay-per-view? Because someone in the house has been, and she'd assumed it was my brother, but if it was me, it was all okay because sex is natural, for the record. It was both me and my brother, but neither of us knew that the other was doing it at the time. And all of that with my mom sounds like actual hell to me. So I allow our sapphic anthem to play out, even though the breathy sex sounds seem to go on forever and ever and ever. I slam my mouth shut and just gaze out the window and pretend not to be shell-shocked, mortified, turned on, shaken, shooketh, never the same again, and teeming with feelings I've never felt. I make a big show of yawning and twirling my hair and looking at the trees as we speed down the last innocent car ride of my young life. I've always been an excellent actress. I truly miss my calling in life. By the end of the song, I am pretending to have drifted off into a blissful sleep, even though I'm very much awake. Probably more awake than I've ever been in my entire life. But I pretend to peacefully nap until we pull into the Trumbull Mall. My dad makes no mention of the outwardly lesbian sexual song that is just blasted through his speakers. No, we just go to Orange Julius and talk about how Leonard Cohen is the greatest poem of all time. We have fun. But in the back of my mind, I can't wait to get home, slam the doors of my room shut, and really listen to Drive by Melissa Ferrick alone.
I'll hold you up and drive you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's give a huge round of applause to the incredible